This is the Midwest Racing Radio Network. Welcome to Getting Dirty Live with Brian Douglas, broadcasting from the Midwest Racing Radio Network and the Five Wives Vodka Studios in Fargo, North Dakota, on this local station and around the world across the internet on the Midwest Racing Radio Network website. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the only host who has ever had the need for speed more than once, Brian Douglas.
Hey everybody, good Thursday to you. Welcome to Getting Dirty Live. I'm Brian Douglas, your host on the Midwest Racing Radio Network. We have a great show coming up. I mean, we take this show every week to a new level. This time it's not down. I'm going to say that I've got probably one of the best guests that I've ever had. I've interviewed a lot of people in my career, and I'll tell you, this guy here I'm just excited to have him on the show. I'm so excited that we're going to try to get the break out of the way, and I'm going to bring you Silver Crown driver and team owner Eddie Sachs, who has a prospect to possibly make it to the Indy 500 in 2014 or 15. It's a great interview, and we'll be back right after this on the Midwest Racing Radio Network. You're on Getting Dirty Live.
This is the Midwest Racing Radio Network.
All dirt roads lead to the famous Knoxville Raceway.
Dreaming one day I, could just race here.
It's dirty. It's heartbreaking.
It's just unfortunate that we came up just a little short there.
Downright nasty. Take home the glory. History shows it doesn't matter where you come from.
My home is Sydney, Australia, which is about 4 to 5 million people. And then we come over here to race in Knoxville, Iowa, around about 7,000. So there's a bit of a culture shock.
The first night I drove a sprint car, I drove all over the track, I hit the wall, and then by the end of the night we won the feature.
Because we're all just regular guys that got regular jobs, and we got to be there Monday morning bright and early.
You can't expect anything from it just because you've run here good in the past. This place owes nobody anything. It'll bite you in a hurry, it can take your life in a hurry.
The fans live for this.
Today's the best day of the year, and then you wake up tomorrow and it's the worst day of the year because it's all over.
The youngest fans dream big about their shot to be the next racing legend. In the heart of America, Knoxville, Iowa, is where dirt dreams come true. It's showtime in the Valley. Knoxville Raceway.
Just when you thought it was safe to talk racing on internet radio.
Getting Dirty Live.
He says, well, I looked at a sponsor and I just needed somebody to help me with my tires. And I just said, you're willing to talk to somebody about putting together a package for you and all you want is tire money? I mean, come on now. You're just basically embarrassed your sponsor. The problem was they did not want to listen to me. They were willing to give me a card, a shirt, a truck. They were willing to give me everything, but they wouldn't listen to me. So I can tell you guys this. It was like dealing with a high-maintenance blonde that I just didn't really want to deal with. I mean, she's pretty to look at, but I'll say, it ain't going to happen. You know what I mean? Because it's just not, it just didn't interest me at all.
If you think this is fun, tune in every Thursday night at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, right here on the Midwest Racing Radio Network, where we're getting dirty live.
This is the Midwest Racing Radio Network.
Welcome back to Getting Dirty Live. I'm Brian Douglas. This is the Midwest Racing Radio Network. And now this segment, we bring something special to the table. The man I got on the phone is not only the team owner, but he's also an accomplished Silver Crown driver with hopes of going to the Indy 500 in the next couple of years. Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Sachs. Eddie, how are you doing?
Good, Brian. Thanks for having me on the show.
Always glad to have you, Eddie. Now, as we look back on where you've been, what Eddie Sachs Racing is all about, it's not not just Eddie Sachs. Can you tell me what your team consists of? It's not just a one-car show.
Yeah. Well, Brian, let me back up a little bit for your listeners that are aware or maybe are not aware of the name. Eddie Sachs goes back to Eddie Sachs, who was the IndyCar driver back in the 50s and 60s, who unfortunately lost his life in the 1964 Indianapolis 500. That was my dad. And the funny part about this year is it's 50 years. We call it his 50th anniversary of his passing for good promotional sake, and bringing back the memory of his name and to the people that used to watch him that are still around. But after 50 years, it's time to move on and move forward, because history sort of sets its foot in the ground, and we have new generations of drivers coming up, and we have new heroes and new everything. So the good thing to go along with that is we have a new race team, and that's Eddie Sachs Racing. It's based out of Detroit, Michigan, and Indianapolis, Indiana. And yes, as you said, I own the team, and we've built it over the last 5 years very slowly. It takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and I'm just a blue-collar guy. I work a regular job in the automotive industry, and I beat the pavement and hustle a little bit here and there to find a little extra help and money to put all this stuff together. But we started out, like I said, 5 years ago with one car and one engine and one little trailer, and 5 years later we're up to, 3 cars now with a few extra goodies and some good drivers. So in a nutshell, that's the start and the where we're at of Eddie Sachs Racing right now.
When you built this team, I'm guessing, if my memory serves me right, about 2007 you appeared on the USAC Silver Crown level, and you got a network of some pretty serious racing names across motorsports. And even back, we go back 3 years with Eddie Sachs Racing, Jimmy Kite, but you've had other corporate names, as I would call them, corporate names across motorsports. Parnelli Jones, Roger Penske. Tell me a little bit about those relationships.
Well, those are definite relationships through the era of my father and myself growing up, being able to meet these guys, and they've all been a good incentive, and they've always looked at what I've done. Of course, I started racing about 20-some years ago. Same type of cars you guys are used to, late models, and through all different late model series in the Midwest, and I built that all the way up to an ARCA, and at that, I probably stayed involved as a driver for about 15 years. It got to be, just like today, it got to be expensive. And I also had one other door that was always slamming in my face. It was called Mother. And my mother did not want me racing at all.
Hey.
Now, the funny part is the rest of the family thought it was great. And, it was a good thing to keep me out of trouble, and it was a good thing to let me learn something also, whether it be mechanically or it's just a common ingenuity of, performance and being competitive. So that was friends and family were all for it, believe me, and most of them were involved in some way or another, except Mom. She was the roadblock.
And Eddie, you talked about that. I'm sorry I had to laugh because I've got the opposite thing, where I've got the grandfather and the uncle with the name. My father raced. When it came my turn to get in the car, my father was just slamming every door he could do. So, I was kind of restricted, still racing go-karts, and he was on, not really much of a supporter. Mom was always there. Grandma was always there. When my grandfather passed away, not even 3 months before he passed away, he says, Brian, I want you to continue this dream, continue this name. Wow. And even this year, after taking a few years off away from it and sticking to the PR end and the helping out of other teams and things like that, we're actually going to see, just like you, we've got that dream, and we're going to make it a reality. It gives me shivers every time I think about it.
I was just going to say you're correct about where when you stop and take some time off, and I did the same thing. I didn't take it off, but I switched roles. I went to work for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway during their 3-segment races a week at a time, and learning the PR side of things, learning media. I did that for about 10 years. Just to stay involved, because the driving part, everybody says, well, today, why don't you drive? It's not that I don't want to or I don't feel like it. It's just common sense says, don't do it. But at the same time, I'm a better promoter, a better owner. I know a little bit more about the industry because I grew up in it, and I feel that I can go sell a driver to a corporate account versus trying to sell myself, where I have to tell you how great I am all the time, and I don't like doing that. But I could tell someone else how great you are and sell you and try to bring that help, that extra help in. So, yeah, it makes a big difference when you step back out of the picture, but you stay in the picture and do other things. Yeah. And I did that for about 10 years.
And now, you brought up something that I'm actually going through at this very week. We're sitting here, and my listeners know that I'm really, I'm working with a well-known marketing agent. My listeners up here in the North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, Southern Canada areas, where our terrestrial stations are, they know that I've been working on, after 4 years of being out of a car, and I'm getting back into it this year, and as you know, here in the Midwest and the upper middle part of the United States, we don't like to talk about ourselves. We don't like to brag it up that that we've done this, and this. I'm just going through this with the marketing agent now. Is we're sitting here with putting together a proposal, and they say, well, why don't you say more about what you're doing? I says, listen, it is very awkward for me to as being a modest person and raised on being modest, that and knowing in the back of your mind that there's always somebody much better out there, that you find it very difficult when you go to help the marketing agent put together a proposal to really toot your horn. I just really had been feeling really awkward about that when I went to help put this proposal together, and I'm sure you found it the same way.
Yes, I did, and it's a hard thing to do. I mean, some people can do it. I'm not that arrogant. So, and you have to be, and you have to promote the person that's driving for you the utmost that you can possibly do, because that's the breadwinner for the team, to keep the sponsor happy. And he's got to be a good driver, too. You can't just BS your way through the whole thing. I mean, somewhere along the line, the driver has to gel with the team, and the team has to perform. So, exactly. And, it doesn't have to happen overnight, but you have to show progress.
Exactly. Not all teams have kept their original, their original staff. Right. Drivers have changed. The only thing that stays the consistency is the owner, unless the team is not successful, period. But the owner's going to sit there and make adjustments to staff and crew and drivers and what have you until he finds that success or until he runs out of money.
Yeah.
Now with us is Eddie Sachs on Getting Dirty Live on the Midwest Racing Radio Network. Eddie, hold on for just a moment. We'll bring Eddie back right after these commercial breaks. This is Getting Dirty Live on the Midwest Racing Radio Network.
This is the Midwest Racing Radio Network.
When it's energy you need and you need it fast, try Mad Croc Energy. Loaded with vitamin B to help give you the endurance you need. It comes in 9 awesome varieties, including sugar-free Mad Croc Energy Drink for those who don't want the calories or carbs, but want all the taste. Don't forget, Mad Croc Energy isn't just your everyday energy drink. Try it. It'll pick you back up and get you back in the race in as fast as 10 minutes. Don't forget, Mad Croc Energy is great for those adult-only events. Go to our website at madcroc.com and look over our signature recipes. Support the one energy drink that supports grassroots motorsports teams across the country. That's Mad Croc Energy. Mad Croc Energy is proudly made in the USA with natural cane sugar. Mad Croc Energy is also a premier sponsor of Dirt Tracking's Southern Style Radio. DirtOnDirt.com is Dirt Late Model Racing's true home on the internet. If it involves dirt late models, you can bet DirtOnDirt.com has it covered with reports and photos from some of the top dirt racing photographers on the planet. Don't forget, DirtOnDirt.com also streams live from some of the nation's top dirt late model events, including the World 100 and the Dirt Track World Championship, not to mention exclusive live streaming coverage from everywhere in between. No matter if you're a fan of the World of Outlaws Dirt Late Model Series or the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series, crate blades, or the weekly series at your local home track, you can count on coverage from DirtOnDirt.com. If you're a true Dirt Late Model fan and want results, video, live reports, or even a weekly roundup of the Dirt Late Model scene across the continent, check out DirtOnDirt.com today. You'll never go anywhere else again. Logistics in today's competitive business environment has everyone looking for ways to increase savings, improve quality, and increase customer satisfaction. The logistics behind your freight transportation can impact these goals significantly. That's why you need to work with a logistics service provider that has strong, reliable resources. A company that can deliver your freight on time, intact, at competitive prices while keeping you informed along the way. DLS Worldwide is that company. They say it's your freight, your goals, with our resources. No matter if you build race cars, rear ends, distribute tires, oil, or build engines. By calling DLS Worldwide, you'll most likely save money, time, and stress. Believe me, that's something we all could use. Contact DLS Worldwide by calling Matt at 866-940-6321. Again, 866-940-6321. DLS Worldwide is a proud sponsor of Dirt Tracking Southern Style.
Extended lubricant, taking fuel performance to a new level. With the Gas Extender Plus Ethanol and Diesel Extender Plus Algae treatment, Extended has your engine covered. The Gas Extender Plus Ethanol treatment is an octane booster that also improves mileage. 1 ounce treats 5 gallons, making it a must-have for your gas-burning toys. The Diesel Extender Plus Algae treatment lubricates cylinders while cleaning and conditioning your fuel system. 1 ounce treats 10 gallons is a great way for your fleet to maintain and save money in one easy step. Worried about your sales force having to pioneer a new product? Well, don't be, because we have a plan to drive traffic to your store. Michael Vatter's Black Stallion, Iron Warrior, and Higher Education sport the extended decals, allowing you to penetrate this powerful market. Also, in 2013, Extended is teaming up with Pursuit Channel's 38 million viewers as they sponsor a block of high-quality outdoor programming on Dish and DirecTV. So climb on board and join the Extended team so you can offer this amazing product to your customer base today.
This is the Midwest Racing Radio Network.
Welcome back to Getting Dirty Live on the Midwest Racing Radio Network. I'm Brian Douglas, your host, with Eddie Sachs, Silver Crown Team owner and aspiring Indy 500 driver for possibly this year, 2014, hopefully before then. If not, he's going to take a shot for 2015. Eddie, getting back to the way things are in your career, can you lay out some of your experience for us?
Well, starting off back in the late 70s, let's call it, I really started racing. Well, I go back actually before that as a kid. Quarter midgets and I always like to say the old soapbox derby. It still counts. But my grandfather put me in those two vehicles when I was a kid and living out east in Pennsylvania. Then I came out to Michigan to live with my mom full time, and I started dabbling with our local racetrack here, Mount Clemens Speedway, and it was hobby stocks, and then worked my way up to sportsmen and late models, and ran late models for about 10 years, all over the Midwest, and all the way up through ASA and Hartzell and the CASCAR series. We ran part of the NASCAR series too. From there, quickly graduating into sprint cars and Silver Crown cars for a stint. And the midgets, Thursday Night Thunder, I was part of that. Then rolling into the American IndyCar series, Bill Tempero, when he brought that series out, which was a retired IndyCar with a stock block engine. Great training, very affordable. I ran some ARCA on super speedway stuff, and also dabbled with, because I live in Michigan, we have the Great Lakes here, the ATBA Offshore Powerboat Association, which we won 2 championships there. Took a little bit of time off then, and just recently, before about 3 years ago, to help a friend of mine out that was promoting the series, the Legends cars, we raced the Legends for a year and a half and ended up winning a championship there. So all of that takes place in about a 15-year period, and I really enjoyed what I had the opportunity to do, and I sort of stuck with it as long as I could and as long as I could afford it. Because like I said, I had to pretty much do most of that on my own. And I met a few people along the way. Some were good and some were bad. And there's some that want to take advantage of you, and there's some that really want to help. So you live and learn that way too. And as you start traveling and getting out there and putting yourself out there, that's when you learn who's good and who's bad. And I think that's helped me become an honest person in our team today, dealing with the drivers and dealing with the crew guys, because you just, to make things right and to make everybody gel together, you got to be honest about everything.
Exactly. You bring up a lot of great points that, maybe some of our, race driver listeners coming up from the grassroots level, we get probably 5,000-6,000 listeners on the average when we actually play this show live on our Thursday nights. You're reaching 15,000 people, and you're giving some of the best advice I've heard in my 25-year broadcast career and 30 years of racing. I'm learning something here. Now, Eddie Sachs Racing, as a race group, you don't do it alone. You got a number two. You've got a whole group behind you. Help bring some of those names to light.
Sure. Let's start. I've been very fortunate with drivers, number one. When I first started with the Silver Crown Series, we were actually building a sprint car for the Little 500. And I had a guy from out east. He was a rookie, but he was coming up. And his name was Zach Martini. And we put him through really the first year of rookie orientation on the pavement car. And towards the end of that year, I was getting ready. We were getting the dirt car together. He was a little nervous about running the dirt. So I had run across a friend of a friend who said, hey, I know Robert Ballou. And Robert had never been in a Silver Crown car yet. And he said, why don't we give him a shot? I said, okay. I mean, he was hot as hell in the sprint cars. Still it. But we gave him a shot, and he finished 7th, which was our best finish at Eldora. It was also his very first ride in Silver Crown car, so I'm happy to be able to say that I offered, a rookie the first ride, because he's going to become somebody someday, which he is now, don't get me wrong, but I think he'll move himself up the ladder. The following year, I was kicking the dust around trying to figure out what to do and who to hire. And I'm always had my mind set to run for the championships, or at least championship points. I mean, I know we can't win a championship right off the get-go, but we set a goal of finishing 10th first year, and then maybe better at every other year. Second year was actually with Jimmy Kite, who was a veteran Silver Crown driver, 7-time Indy 500 starter, and I think he spent about 8 years total in the IRL, and he's still involved with the IRL for personal reasons of what they require you to do as a finishing driver. So Jimmy was very good to the team. We learned a lot. We raced for 2 years together. Did very well for the equipment I had to offer him and for his talents. And we learned as we went. And we basically put everything together with a lot of his experience. And Jimmy decided to go ahead, and they started the Must See series, and he wanted to run that. It offered a lot more racing, a lot more exposure, and at the time. And so that was the second year together, we had a lot of engine troubles, and they had brought in that new fuel out, so it was just a tough year. The following year, which would have been last year, I hired Miranda Throckmorton. Miranda is a female driver and a rookie, and we had a very good start to the season. We did some testing. She was very fast. We also had a cumbersome start to the season because we had some bad weather. I think we lost 2 or 3 races right off the get-go because of rain. We finally made our debut with her at the Hoosier Hunter, and I can happily say another history marker will be put in the books. She was the first female driver to ever qualify and start and finish the Hoosier Hunter. So there's one for the record books for Eddie Sachs Racing again, to be involved with something new that's sort of history making in the USAC books. not interested. She wasn't too interested in pavement, so we put Frank Alonso in the car and for pavement. And Frank was a road racer, and he came from road racing and drag racing, and we ran 2 races together there. And that was the end of the pavement series, which offered me the chance to put Cody Swanson in our dirt car for the last 4 races of the year. And at the time, Cody was in first place in the championship points. And it was sort of an honor for him to say, yeah, I really want to run your car, Eddie, because it looks like you have some good stuff put together. And between him and his dad, Mike Swanson, and our team, we did everything we could to have some good finishes, and we did. I think we had one DNF, and all the rest were top 10, top 5, so through last year. That driver-wise, I've been very fortunate to have good drivers, like I said. And then this year, we just hired Davey Ray. Davey's a national midget champion. He's won the Australian race, Australian Down Under series 4 times in a row. He sort of laughs when he said he didn't win it this year. He ran out of gas on the last 2 laps, but that's his own prepared midgets and stuff. He's come to us with a lot of talent and a lot of hope that I think we can put something together for the rest of the year and fare pretty well. He's a very good driver, and the thing I like about it, whether I say he's good or not, is the fans, his friends, and people that are of the racing caliber know him. They all come up to me and say, Eddie, you got a great guy there, best of luck, and I think you guys will do good. So that makes me feel good inside when that happens from the outside and you're not expecting it.
Yeah, that's, I mean, if you got your competition, you got the fans coming up and you're saying, hey, I recognize this guy's a good guy, you got the right guy, you have to just, it has to validate your own gut instinct on what you read, what you see, and, not knowing that this is just going to be a one-time flash in the pan.
No, all racing and any type of sports, there's one shots that come and go. A lot of that at Indy nowadays. I think a lot due to money, but you need to. I mean, our first race at Terre Haute last weekend, we ran well. Car looked good. Everything went good. We had a little bobble halfway through the race. He got up in the marbles and let the car go sideways. And I mean, you have to it's going to take 1 or 2 races to get used to that car. Sprint cars and midgets, they're all similar to the Silver Crown, but the big difference is the Silver Crown cars are a lot slower to respond, they're a lot heavier, and they're a little bit down on horsepower with a lot more weight to them than a sprint car or a midget. So you can't just snap that car around when you lose it or when you're about to lose it. You have all that weight. You have 60 gallons, 70 gallons of fuel in the back end, which is a couple hundred extra pounds until that burns off, and that's weight that's throwing that tail end into that turn. And if it doesn't catch just right, it's going to keep the inertia moving. So it takes a little time. It'll take anybody that's new to those cars just a little bit. You have to have patience, and it'll take a little time to get used to that.
It's just like what I learned about the difference being out in Arizona with the Western Series. The sprint car is only 84 inches, 85 inches long, and you got a 100-inch wheelbase on a Silver Crown car, and it's the way that it was explained to me was twice the fuel capacity, 1/3 the length, and it's basically like like driving a Cessna, to an airport and rounding the corner instead of taking a 777 and rounding a corner with it.
Exactly.
It doesn't do that. It isn't that quick, and it's even got less power to weight ratio than most 360 sprints versus what the 410s have. And they're not tiny and quick like the midgets. And so you just gotta, you do have to have patience. It's it's the same thing as like going from like comparing an ARCA car versus a Cup car.
Exactly.
They're not the power difference.
There's a difference. Right. Yeah. Yep.
Eddie Sachs, ladies and gentlemen, on Getting Dirty Live. Eddie, hold on through our hard break as we need to take a station break right now. This is Getting Dirty Live. I'm Brian Douglas, your host on the Midwest Racing Radio Network.
This is the Midwest Racing Radio Network.
dirt roads lead to the famous Knoxville Raceway.
Dreaming one day I, could just race here.
It's dirty. It's heartbreaking.
It's just unfortunate that we came up just a little short there.
Downright nasty. And only one will take home the glory. History shows it doesn't matter where you come from.
My home is Sydney, Australia, which is about 4 to 5 million people. And then we come over here to race in Knoxville, Iowa, we're about 7,000, so it was a bit of a culture shock.
The first night I drove a sprint car, I drove all over the track, I hit the wall, and then by the end of the night we won the feature.
Because we're all just regular guys that got regular jobs, and we got to be there Monday morning bright and early.
You can't expect anything from it just because you've run here good in the past. This place owes nobody anything. It'll bite you in a hurry. It can take your life in a hurry.
The fans live for this.
Today's the best day of the year, and then you wake up tomorrow and it's the worst day of the year because it's all over.
The youngest fans dream big about their shot to be the next racing legend. In the heart of America, Knoxville, Iowa, is where dirt dreams come true. It's showtime in the Valley. Knoxville Raceway.
Just when you thought it was safe to talk racing on internet radio.
Getting Dirty Live.
He says, well, I looked at a sponsor and I just needed somebody to help me with my tires. And I just said, you're willing to talk to somebody about putting together a package for you, and all you want is tire money? I mean, come on now. You're just basically embarrassed your sponsor. The problem was they did not want to listen to me. They were willing to give me a card, a shirt, a truck. They were willing to give me everything, but they wouldn't listen to me. So I can tell you guys this. It was like dealing with a high-maintenance blonde that I just didn't really want to deal with. I mean, she's pretty to look at, but I'll say, it ain't going to happen. You know what I mean? Because it's just not, it just didn't interest me at all.
If you think this is fun, tune in every Thursday night at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, right here on the Midwest Racing Radio Network, where we're getting dirty live.
Extended lubricant, taking fuel performance to a new level. With the Gas Extender Plus Ethanol and Diesel Extender Plus Algae treatment, Extended has your engine covered. The Gas Extender Plus Ethanol treatment is an octane booster that also improves mileage. 1 ounce treats 5 gallons, making it a must-have for your gas-burning toys. The Diesel Extender Plus Algae treatment lubricates cylinders while cleaning and conditioning your fuel system. 1 ounce treats 10 gallons is a great way for your fleet to maintain and save money in one easy step. Worried about your sales force having to pioneer a new product? Well, don't be, because we have a plan to drive traffic to your store. Michael Vatter's Black Stallion, Iron Warrior, and Higher Education sport the extended decals, allowing you to penetrate this powerful market. Also, in 2013, Extended is teaming up with Pursuit Channel's 38 million viewers as they sponsor a block of high-quality outdoor programming on Dish and DirecTV. So climb on board and join the Extended team so you can offer this amazing product to your customer base today.
DirtOnDirt.com is Dirt Late Model Racing's true home on the internet. If it involves dirt late models, you can bet DirtOnDirt.com has it covered with reports and photos from some of the top dirt racing photographers on the planet. Don't forget, DirtOnDirt.com also streams live from some of the nation's top dirt late model events, including the World 100 and the Dirt Track World Championship, not to mention exclusive live streaming coverage from everywhere in between. No matter if you're a fan of the World of Outlaws Dirt Late Model Series or the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series, Crate Blades, or the weekly series at your local home track, you can count on coverage from DirtOnDirt.com. If you're a true dirt late model fan and want results, video, live reports, or even a weekly roundup of the dirt late model scene across the continent, check out DirtOnDirt.com today. You'll never go anywhere else again. Need energy? Try Liquid Nitro Energy drinks with 3 awesome flavors and no bull. That's right, no bad aftertaste, no crash, no bull. We checked out all the other energy drinks, and Liquid Nitro has half the sugar of the other major brands' regular energy drinks. It has a great taste and no bull. You say nobody stocks Liquid Nitro in your area? Go to nitrobeverages.com and you'll find a complete list of distributors near you. To become a distributor, contact Randy at Dirt Tracking Southern Style for more information. Liquid Nitro is absolutely the most consistent energy drink on the market today. It's Liquid Nitro Regular, Liquid Nitro Herbal, Liquid Nitro Tropical Storm, and don't forget, we also make Liquid Nitro Energy Shooters. Real energy, and again, no bull. For everything you need to know about Liquid Nitro Energy, log on to nitrobeverages.com, or you can find us at your retailer or Speedway outlet.
This is the Midwest Racing Radio Network.
Yes, as the man said, this is the Midwest Racing Radio Network, and you're on Getting Dirty Live. I'm Brian Douglas. I'm with Eddie Sachs Jr., the owner of Eddie Sachs Racing, a Silver Crown team. Also, there's a junior midget team involved in this, and there's a whole lot more as we've been finding out in our previous segments. Now, Eddie, this team has been together for a few years. Is there a secret sauce to keeping this together?
It just takes patience on our end. We have it. I've had some good crew guys come and go, and a lot of it's voluntary. So it just depends on family life and what they have going on for the year. I have some good people on my marketing side that help out immensely, and we're just keep every day, Brian. We just keep building up whatever I can, whatever we can do, whatever we need, we look at, and what we don't need, we put on the wish list. And like I said, I've been fortunate to get as far as I have right now, and we're going to keep things going. So
now, your shop team fairly consists of, besides your 2 crew members, and you mentioned Frank D'Alonzo, which is a very big name, no matter where you go in USAC. But he's also your team manager, and pretty much just runs everything within the shop.
Yeah, you have to have someone like that is, Frank has got a lot of time to do that. He's very organized, very methodical when it comes down to making sure all our lists are filled and we have everything together. But he's also intelligent enough to be able to have people do things on the car and then turn his back and not worry about it, because he will check it over. He understands the physics of the chassis, and he's an excellent motor guy. So
yeah, you got an all-star there for a team manager, and I'm sure you've probably been approached to say, well, God, if we had the kind of money, we'd definitely like to find somebody like him. Not necessarily like him, but I'm sure you've been asked, where do I find somebody like him? These guys are a diamond in the rough. They're few and far between, and when you find somebody that is that good at what they do, you got to hang on to them for dear life. And I'm sure that's what you had to do.
Well, yeah, and Frank, fortunately, he's a friend, and we've had that conversation, and we both have the same goal, is to try to build this. And he doesn't, as far as I know, have any plans on going anywhere. And we're in it for the long haul, and he sees the big picture at the end of the tunnel too, if we get there. And it's feasible for everybody. And right now, it's we do everything we can to just keep our heads down and stay aggressive. And he enjoys doing what he does, and he enjoys helping me, and that's the bottom line.
So he's got a true passion. So he has a true passion for the program.
Yes, he does.
And I'm sorry for interrupting on that. You got anybody else you want to give a little bit of credit to, as far as?
You know what, I do. There's a couple guys that, company-wise, that really, really help out, and it's the things that you don't think about that add up. Cases of oil and cleaning products and just little things that, it's $50 a week here or there or $100, and at the end of the year, it's that turns into thousands. And there's a couple people, I'm not going to go into a long list, but Justice Brothers, they help us tremendously with different cleaning products and chemicals that we use throughout the year on the car. Landrum Springs, that's the first real product sponsorship I've gotten from anybody in years, and Jeff Fuller up there at Landrum Springs provides us with what we need for our chassis and keeps us as best as he can in the hunt from the competition. Safety Clean and Indy Race Parts, Bernie over there, he does a wonderful job giving me a discount on things. He looks out for me on what to buy and what not to buy when we need when I come to him with a certain question and say, hey, what do you think of this? And that's about it. There's some few other people. I do want to thank my marketing manager, and Ted Sachs. He's in Chicago, Illinois. Ted pounds the pavement daily looking for stuff, and he's semi-retired. He also takes care of our accounting and all that. The funny part is he's no relation, but he has become a good friend, and we met this way through racing, and we've known each other for several years now. But he enjoys doing what he does, and he's out, like I said, he pounds the pavement. He's been told no so many times. All he does is just keep coming back. Hey, I got this other idea. So we keep putting little proposals together, and he goes out there and knocks on the doors, and that helps him. That helps immensely.
Now, there's so much more than just Silver Crown focus with Eddie Sachs Racing. Tell me a little bit about the midget and the midget series and that type of thing. And also, I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys got into a little more than just midgets. Tell me more about it.
On the midgets, we started off with the Ford Focus back a couple years ago when USAC was running the junior series, and I'm trying to build a program that involves everything, and that was what we called our driver development program at the time, and bringing along a younger driver with help with his family and running a car that we purchased and sort of maintain, but then they sort of take it to all the races, and they also learn too. And I've showed up. I probably make it to 90% of the races because they race throughout Indianapolis area and Ohio on a Wednesday or Thursday night, which doesn't interfere with our schedule. But it's to bring someone up after the next step out of go-karts or quarter midgets today. The Ford Focus Junior Series is a good series. It's the exact same car that the drivers run in the USAC National Midget Series, except the engine is detuned. It's a little bit safer. It's a little slower. But it's fast enough to keep these kids competitive and let them feel like what real speed is like, what handling is like, and how to get a feel for the car. So within a year or two, depending on their age, they can move up into the National Midget Series. So that's been a very successful program. I've been very, very happy with it. Although now this year they've ended the Junior Series and they're putting the Ford Focus Juniors. They're running them right with the National Midget Series guys because it's I guess the fields are dwindling a little bit and they're trying to fill them, and it doesn't hurt to start the kids at the back of the pack, and then the faster cars, if they come up on them, they can watch them, they can make their minds up on how to get around them, and it gives everybody a good opportunity now to feel the real racing speeds and how to adjust the cars. So and then the other program I have that's really not set off yet because we're trying to, I guess everybody's trying to figure out what to do with it. But if you remember the old Gold Crown series, well, it's not really old, but the Gold Crown series was a series that was interacted through USAC and another group to run the 1.5 to 2 mile speedways, which was another stepping stone to give drivers out of the Silver Crown Series some experience so they could either, people won't like me to say this, but to flank into NASCAR or the IRL because it gave them that much more intense speed at a 2 mile track. Well, unfortunately, I think the economy has taken a toll on both Silver Crown and Gold Crown. And 3 years ago, they went back to the full Silver Crown project because a lot of people weren't too excited about buying into the Gold Crown cars. It was a whole new car. It was a whole new everything. I bought the car at the end of that term, hoping that they would rejuvenate this series and put both of them together, which they should have done properly when they first did it, but they didn't. So it's a confusing story, but that's a great series if they could ever get it back, where we have a chance to run the super speedways, the 2-mile tracks, and get experience there, not only as a driver, but the team too. And the guys get used to making pit stops. They get used to working on cars that are a lot more technically inclined because of the speeds. And, right after that is hopefully the jump to the IndyCar or the IRL or open wheel IndyCar League.
Yeah, and to kind of wrap things up, Eddie, you have a dream, and this was the grand poobah, shall we say, of all that ESR's efforts are coming towards. You still got a bug for racing. Now, I understand racing at IRP and some of the other USAC tracks, Eldora and all that, just don't quite scratch the itch. Tell me a little bit about your project to make it to Indy.
Okay, Brian. I was thinking when you were saying that, I knew what you were going to ask, and I said I can do this in about 1 minute. But I want to make everybody feel what I feel. 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, I was one of the first people and persons to say, let's get involved in the IRL. I want to be a car owner. I want to be a car owner in the Indy 500, and that would be my goal in life, and that would satisfy me for not being able to race there or drive there. Well, unfortunately, I was right, and I said if we don't get this done this year, next year the big boys are all going to be back. If you remember, back then everybody was on strike and everything was going crazy, and there was a fight between CART and the IRL. The following year, everybody came back, and the cost of the team was back up in the realm of $2 to $3, maybe $4 million. And 10 years later, fast forward, I said, let's do it in my mind. Let's do it the old-fashioned way. Let's get back into it the way a driver would have to do it. The owner should have to do the same thing. We started focusing on the open-wheel cars, the sprint cars, and the Silver Crown cars. I got involved in the team, and the involvement was, the goal was this year was 2014, was to be a car owner in the Indy 500 in honor of my dad because it was his 50th anniversary, and I thought it would be a great marketing project. And it still could be. It's, you never say never. We still have some phone calls out there and some people that are interested in putting together a second or third car, and we'll see what happens. But to make a long story short, that's my goal. Whether it happens this year or next year, I do want to be a car owner in the Indianapolis 500. And if it goes the whole way, I would love to be in the whole series and for a year or 2 or 3 or whatever it takes, and that would be a satisfying goal to end my tenureship as a racing person in the racing world.
Now, Eddie, I mean, that's a very realistic dream. It's ambiguous, but very realistic, considering where you come from, what your background is. The hardest thing is getting the marketing people or the companies that would want to get behind this to come to the table and say, yeah, I see the dream. Let's make it work. And I know I just interviewed a World of Outlaws driver last week, David Gravel. I'm sure, as you know, there's no shortage of drivers that want to go and race the Indy 500. But as a car owner, what would you be looking for to complete this whole project?
Well, it's just not equipment. It takes certain people. It takes a certain driver, and it could be a rookie driver. It could be a veteran driver. You just never know. It really doesn't hold any difference there. The biggest thing, you need the funds to do it, and you need some good equipment. And I think today the easiest part is the partnership with an existing team, because there's so many contractual items out there, like engine programs, and some of the lease programs on the chassis. You have to be signed in, and maybe for someone like me, fresh, it would be harder to do because you have to come up with a lot extra agreement or contract to make money to agree to the engine program and agree to the chassis program. So I think the easy part is just to find a partner this time and build it. Within a year or two, then it would be on its own. So what I need is the hard part is just it need a little of everything. And as everybody says, funding's probably the biggest, hardest thing they come up with.
You know, and especially with in IndyCar where you've only got one, maybe, you know, or one, you know, like a spec chassis. You've only got a few different types of motors. You know, it makes it doesn't leave it like the old days when kart and IRL, and you know, things used to be fairly wide open.
Right.
You know,
there were rules, but run what you brung and hope you brought enough.
Yeah, GM or Chevrolet brought their motor. Cosworth brought their motor. There were like 5-6 different engines. As long as it met, you know, like a carburation spec or a cubic inch spec or whatever. That's all they cared about. Nowadays, it is so finitely technical that you're pretty much down to just having to lease from only a couple companies. That makes it a lot more difficult, especially when the IRL or the Indy 500 has lost its how would I say, pardon the pun here, but lost its curb appeal to the American public. I mean, it's still a great race, but it's like all of a sudden the big attraction is, okay, we're going back, and, you know, where Indy used to have far and away more viewers than NASCAR, where NASCAR has this, and then you see some of those Indy fans also going back to the dirt open wheel because they're now available on TV, and then all of a sudden they're taken in as a fan. But still, there's those hardcore situations where, you know, you'll get year after year after year, you'll still get those same repeat fans coming to Indy. I have never been to Indy myself personally, and I think, I mean, from what I've been, you know, told and what's been described to me, you know, I know it's an experience just like going to Daytona. I mean, it's something that you got to experience once as a race fan.
That's for sure, Brian. And I'll tell you what, I'll make this offer to you. When we make it there as a team, you can be my guest, and hopefully that'll be another first in our book that I brought someone to the track that's never been there, that's been following racing their whole life.
I'll tell you something. You know, coming as a host and as a lifelong race fan, and also, you know, driver for a good number of years, you just put the biggest smile on a host's face you could ever do. And Eddie, I will take you up on that.
I'm dead serious. So, and that just shows our effort to make this thing happen. So,
yes, Eddie. You know, wrapping this up in a nutshell, what can we tell the fans? You know, the people that know of Eddie Sachs Racing, know of the drivers, know of the USAC Silver Crown Series, and some of the efforts Eddie Sachs Racing. What can we tell them to look for the rest of this year?
Well, first of all, let me say this, let me give myself a plug.
Go right ahead.
You can follow a lot of it on the internet. It's www.eddiesaxracing.net, and all one word, Eddie Sachs Racing, and .net, not .com. We have a complete website there that pretty much lets you know what's going on, and little pre-race follow-ups, and it's not nothing hectic. It doesn't change every 5 minutes. It's just probably once a week or once depending on what our schedule's like. You can follow a lot of what's going on there. Another one is Facebook, and pretty much Eddie Sachs Racing on Facebook. You send me a note, and I'll definitely friend you. And that's about it. The rest of it, what I can tell you for those that can't get on the internet, we plan on running a full race schedule. We will be running dirt and pavement. I am planning on trying to put a second car in the dirt program this year if everything comes together. We hope to be running the little 500 the night before the 500 up in Anderson, and if that works out, we'll probably take place in a few extra must-see series races that are running throughout the Midwest. Those are all pavement. I guess probably for now that's about it, which is a lot on our plate. And not to forget the goal of the Indy 500. I continually work towards that. And that's another key thing on the website. There's a little clip that's a 5-minute clip that shows and tells a little bit about our road to the Indy 500. So it's an enjoyable site, and I think the fans would like it.
Awesome. I have seen it, and I'll tell you, it absolutely will give you chills if you're a diehard race fan. Eddie, one final question. It was kind of just as you were wrapping things up, and you got to pardon me for asking the last question of the segment here. Besides USAC Silver Crown, have you ever thought about, with Eddie Sachs Racing going to a traditional dirt sprint or winged sprint series with the team?
Yeah, and I didn't speak much about it, but the must-see series, we are working on that, which includes the Little 500, and it's a pavement series. I also had thought about running some weekly stuff here and there, but the hard part, Brian, is that I'm always told by the advisors to focus on one thing before and make it semi-successful before you move on to the next. But then the other coin is that the summers here are so short that we need to do, I always believe you need to do as much as you can and get out there and show what your capabilities are. And, I like to race full time. And, some of the other guys can't all the time, but my thoughts and ideas are definitely open to other forms of racing on the short track series, and using that as a stepping stone in a training program, maybe to bring our own drivers up to the IndyCar level.
Yeah, because I see 4 or 5 different dirt sprint series around, everything from upper Midwest sprint cars to the IRA series and NOSA sprints, which is kind of restricted to about 8 tracks. And other series like that that are more regional, but definitely a place where you can cut your teeth with top-notch competition all the way around. And I kind of had to ask if that was something you thought about, setting up in another region and starting to do something like that, where you can create a training program or a developmental program in a different series.
Yep, I agree 100%.
All right, Eddie. Eddie Sachs, Eddie Sachs Racing, Indianapolis, Indiana. And Eddie, thank you for joining us, and thank you for being on Getting Dirt Live right here on the Midwest Racing Radio Network.
Brian, like I said at the beginning, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. This always helps, and I always like to let everyone know what we're up to, and that way when they come out to the racetrack, they can come up and say hello, and we can all keep in touch. So thanks again, and I hope everybody has a safe and great day.
All right. Thank you very much, Eddie. And we're going to take a break right now. You're listening to Getting Dirty Live on the Midwest Racing Radio Network.
This is the Midwest Racing Radio Network.
Need energy? Try Liquid Nitro Energy drinks with 3 awesome flavors and no bull. That's right, no bad aftertaste, no crash, no bull. We checked out all the other energy drinks, and Liquid Nitro has half the sugar of the other major brands' regular energy drinks. It has a great taste and no bull. You say nobody stocks Liquid Nitro in your area? Go to nitrobeverages.com and you'll find a complete list of distributors near you. To become a distributor, contact Randy at Dirt Tracking Southern Style for more information. Liquid Nitro is absolutely the most consistent energy drink on the market today. It's Liquid Nitro Regular, Liquid Nitro Herbal, Liquid Nitro Tropical Storm, and don't forget, we also make Liquid Nitro Energy Shooters. Real energy, and again, no bull. For everything you need to know about Liquid Nitro Energy, log on to nitrobeverages.com, or you can find us at your retailer or Speedway outlet.
And just some final thoughts to wrap up the show. We want to thank, first of all, Eddie Sachs Jr. of Eddie Sachs Racing out of Detroit and Indianapolis, 2 great locations. Eddie, awesome. We had some history made on the show. I've never in my life ever had a team owner offer me to be a guest with them to the Indy 500 should they get there. I wish them all the best of luck. I want to thank Casey Webb for referring Mr. Sachs to us for today's show. Also want to thank Randy Hudgens from Dirt Tracking Southern Style for all his courtesy lately, as he has the one that basically gave the show a real start and a temporary home on his internet network, and we wish him well while his show is off the air. Maybe someday we can get Dirt Tracking Southern Style right here on the Midwest Racing Radio Network. We'll check that out soon. Just remember, the Western Swing wraps up this next week with the World of Outlaws, and then we get on on to the regular racing season. As we come into April now, tracks will start opening up across the upper Midwest and the northern part of the United States, so stay tuned for more of that. And as we go, that's pretty much about what we got here. Just remember, if you know of a guest that you'd like to hear right here on Getting Dirty Live, you can email us at midwestracingradio@gmail.com. Until next week, I'm Brian Douglas, your host of Getting Dirty Live. We'll see you next Thursday on the Midwest Racing Radio Network.
This is the Midwest Racing Radio Network.